What's up, everybody? It's Peter Tragos, the lawyer you know, and on this channel, we break down the trials and cases you care most about so you can understand how the American civil and criminal justice system works. And we try to make sure you understand what your rights are in every situation, which is why we try to walk you through the entire legal process while also answering your insightful questions along the way. And while it's not legal advice, it's always exciting. So buckle up for another episode of The Lawyer You Know. What's up, everybody? How is the chat today? You can see the top of my computer and here. Let me move it back a little. How's everybody doing? Can you believe we're talking about Darrell Brooks again? I see some people in the chat are upset about that. They're like, why are we talking about this guy still? Well, we talk about what the people want to talk about here. And I got a lot of questions about this hearing specifically. We're going to watch maybe 5 to 7 minutes of the hearing, a couple parts of it. Thank you, people noticing the new intro. Justin Aaron. Sorry, it's going fast here now. Mindy, clever nickname, CJ, Nicole Wheeler, Elise, Lisa, everybody. Thank you for the compliments on the new intro. John made it. Patrick, good morning to you and everyone else here. And yes, we will start with that before we get to the Darrell Brooks hearing. We are doing this early today. I probably have about 30 minutes to get through this Darrell Brooks stuff. We're going to talk about the cases that are still outstanding in Milwaukee. We're going to watch part of this hearing together and answer some questions that people have had throughout this case and after the resolution of the first trial. But later this afternoon at 3:30, we are still doing a live. It's just kind of a special one. And we're doing 2 in one day because tomorrow I won't be doing a live. So a lot to talk about here right off the jump, and I'll get through it quickly so we can get to the point of the video. Actually, I'll save as a little tease after we watch the hearing video. Before I answer some questions, I'll tell you what I'm doing tomorrow. But later today, we are going to be talking FTX, Bankman-Fried, whatever his name is. I know almost nothing about that case, but my dad has been looking into it, and he thinks it's very interesting. And it's very interesting how you federally prosecute cases like this with unregulated industries where fraud is fraud is fraud, but he'll explain kind of the differences in what you do if you're a federal prosecutor and you're not a crypto expert or an NFT expert or whatever, such as myself or my dad, how you handle cases like this. So we are going to jump into it. Thank you for telling me that. People that hate the complainers, listen, I don't consider you complainers because Carolina, I had my microphone way over there still. So I'm glad you mentioned this. I appreciate that. So hopefully you guys can hear me better now. Yes, we are going to be talking that FTX case. We are going to be bringing Big George on to talk about how federal prosecutors would handle a case like this. And so if you're interested in that case, make sure you come at 3:30 because we will be doing deeper dives in the future if people are interested in come to that case. But you're here now. Hopefully you've liked the video already. Hopefully you subscribe to our page. If not, hit that subscribe button because we are going to get into what's going on with Darrell Brooks. Thank you, Carolina. We are going to get into what's still pending for Darrell Brooks. He has multiple felony charges still going on in Milwaukee, which is why he was transferred down there. A couple of them have to do with the domestic violence that left Erica Patterson bloody and beaten in the face with tire marks on her because he used the car as a weapon in that case against her. Additionally, there are so many twisted things with Darrell Brooks and the charges against him. But as part of that case, he tried to persuade a witness to not cooperate in this criminal investigation. And what did he offer in return for her not cooperating against him? But marriage to him. Seems like she passed. I don't know how somebody could pass up on such a great offer, but it seems like she passed. And that does go to being a narcissist, I think, to think that somebody would, really think of marrying you in the situation that you're in. But that is what somebody was promised in exchange for helping him out. So those are the first couple cases. Then there's also a case stemming back from 2020. Those are from 2021. Case stemming back from 2020 is reckless endangerment. where he used a gun to potentially shoot at or around or near his nephew, where they said basically he brought a gun to a fist fight. You say don't bring a knife to a gunfight, as Jay-Z said. Well, he brought a gun to a fist fight, and that's illegal, especially somebody in his situation. And again, a lot was talked about with the bail. How does he have all these charges, 20 plus arrests and convictions throughout his lifetime? A lot of them are physically violent. And to me, there were major issues. Of one was $1,000 bond, one was $15,000, reduced to 10, reduced to 7,500, reduced to 1,000 because it was Christmas time or something. And his mom posted the bail multiple times. He was out on little to no bail after these very serious, violent charges against him. He should not have been on the streets, clearly, but we can't go back and take it back. So we got to deal with it now with what we're dealing with. And those are the grounds for the charges that are still open against Darrell Brooks. So they are going to trial. There was all sorts of questions I got. We saw the picture of him in the wheelchair. We saw him strapped to the wheelchair with the mask on. Was he sedated? Was he on suicide watch? What's going on? Well, we're going to see his mannerisms in this hearing today. A lot of questions. Will he represent himself? Will he have counsel? Well, right now he's got counsel. We'll hear about that. Will he take a plea deal? Will he make this or take this case to trial? Well, the judge has some similar questions. So we are going to listen to that as well in this hearing. So let's get to this hearing together. We're going to listen to the first 5 minutes, and then there's about a minute here or a minute there that I want to get to kind of explain where we're at in this process with these other criminal cases, which it seems like are grouped together in Milwaukee. At least the domestic violence charges are, for sure. So without further ado, let's get to it.
This is State of Wisconsin versus Darrell Brooks, Jr., case 20 CF 2550, also calling 21 CF 4596 and 21 CF 5020. Appearances.
State appears by Jacob Core and Michelle Grasso.
Attorney Robert Hampton appears with Attorney William Rakestraw. Mr. Brooks, good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon. Mr. Brooks's cases were scheduled today before this branch and branch 10 for final pretrials. Mr. Brooks is currently set for trial in both of these branches on December 12th. My understanding is during the course of the morning, both the state and defense counsels met with branch 10, Judge Havas, and there was a discussion about what would happen this afternoon. And it's my understanding that there's going to be a request that we postpone the December 12th trial dates. Is that accurate?
That is correct, Your Honor. We all know where Mr. Brooks spent the last month, and over that month, just out of
They're basically like, Judge, we know what's been going on. He's been representing himself, trying this other case that you may have heard of over in Waukesha. So we need an extension. Basically, at this point, what they're trying to do is just extend the trial date.
because he's focusing on other things, being his own attorney there in Waukesha. We didn't speak with him because he was busy. Since the verdict was read, got back in touch with Mr. Brooks and we're speaking again, dealing with this case, but asking for an adjournment so that we can now get into how we want to handle the case in front of Your Honor and also Judge Havas.
Mr. Core and Mr. Rasmus has taken a position on these requests.
No, Judge, given the circumstances, I don't think the state is going to object. The state would have been prepared on December 12th for these matters, but given the circumstances and the defense's inability to prepare, we're not going to object to the adjournment.
So nobody's going to argue with the fact that we need to continue these cases because he's just been trying a case for the last month, not been able to talk to his counsel and prepare for this defense. That's fair. This gets continued in every court system around the world.
All right. At this point, from the court system's perspective, we've begun to make arrangements, and I discussed this briefly with counsel, with Mr. Core today. The court had reached out to find larger, more dire space for December 12th, and we talked about Waukesha. The court has been kind enough to share a juror questionnaire. We talked about that.
So what they're talking about there is we're going to need a bigger space to pick this jury. And while this may seem like simple charges, and if we would have done this case 6 months ago, we probably would not need this big of a jury space to pick the jury, but now we need a bigger space. Number one. Number two, we need special juror questionnaires to ask if they watched the Waukesha case, if they watched Darrell Brooks get convicted of murder. All of that stuff is now really important when we're picking jurors in these criminal cases. So we're going to need more time, more space, and more specific detailed juror questionnaires. The judge seems like he's fully on board with that.
I can't say that significant enough efforts have been made that it would cause problems to move these matters. And given the circumstances here in the events of the last month in Waukesha County, the court does understand why it would have been difficult for Mr. Rakestraw and Mr. Hampton to meet with Mr. Brooks and coordinate strategy on these matters. So for those reasons, the court will grant the request to adjourn these matters. Mr. Hampton and Mr. Rakestraw, at this point, should we be looking at setting new trial and final pretrial dates, or do you think the cases are going to move in a different direction?
At this point, I guess we set a status date so that we can figure out how we want to move forward and also discuss any possible plans, any possible options with the state if those exist.
So what that means, it's code language for, can we discuss any possible plans or options with the state if those exist? That is code for, can we get a plea deal here? Can you give us time served? Can you give us something concurrent to whatever he's going to get in Waukesha or whatever he's getting in Waukesha? But because the appeals are still open, that makes that kind of difficult. The state can't go too easy on him. A lot of you in the chat, so let me know this. And I know you guys like polls. I'm sorry I can't put one up right now. But what do you think would be better? For the state to go easy on the sentence just to take a plea deal to save taxpayer dollars? Or would you feel justice is more served for Erica Patterson and his nephew and the victims in these cases if they go and throw the book at him and try to get the max penalties, which if you get convicted on these cases and they look at your prior arrests and prior convictions and you've got 6 murder charges that you've been convicted of, plus the 60, 70 other charges that he's been convicted of and sentenced for, you're going to get the max penalties. You're going to grade out for the maximum potential sentences for all of those criminal charges. So do you think they should throw the book at him and that's more justice? Or do you think they should save taxpayer dollars, give him a sweetheart plea deal since he's already going to prison for the rest of his life? Let me know what you guys think. And see, it's already kind of split. People are saying save taxpayer dollars. Some people are saying throw the book at him. Deidre, I think this is kind of where I'm sitting, is let her get justice for her case. And, you know, this is how it works. This is the criminal justice system. And he doesn't have to take the deal either, right? So if you're the state and you offer some sweetheart deal and he says no, then you look stupid too. So I think it's really good here. You guys we can respectfully disagree, right? A lot of people, this is literally, it feels like it's split in half. So that's cool to see that the chat thinking on their own, everybody has their own opinion. And that's what's hard in these kinds of cases. We don't always know. Is it better to just give him a plea deal where he has, 1 year or something like that, running concurrent with the other charges? Or do we want him to get the max for maximum justice, which will probably take a trial because obviously most people don't want to take a plea deal when you get the max. And I definitely think Darrell Brooks is one of those people that does not want to take the plea deal and take the max.
Mr. Core, Ms. Grasso, do you want to weigh on that?
I don't have a position on that, Judge.
All right.
By the way, they're setting a status instead of a trial date, which is, when you're supposed to have the trial date basically now and you're setting a status, everybody's kind of working towards a plea deal, which I'm surprised about because I didn't think he was going to take a plea deal. So usually the judge wants to set a trial date, not a status. And you're going to hear the judge kind of mention that in a second.
From the court's perspective, that's appropriate because I think clearly if we end up setting another trial date for Mr. Brooks, that has to be the in capital letters trial date for these matters. And
he doesn't want any more delays. He doesn't want, the same thing to happen in the other case where right before the trial, he gets rid of his attorneys. That's not going to create any more delays. So he's trying to lay down the law right now saying if we pick a trial date, it's in caps trial date. We're not going to do this where we just continue it 50 times and let this keep going on forever and ever.
It's going to take a fair amount of preparation on behalf of the state, a fair amount of preparation on behalf of the defense, and a fair amount of preparation on behalf of the court system. And so I think that setting a status date to make sure that that's where we're going to go. I also think that on that status date, we set both matters in both courts on December 12th. And it may be that in the future we need to revisit setting the matters on the same date in both calendars. That's a decision that state defense and Judge House and I can continue to discuss. But at this point, I do think it's appropriate to set these matters for a status hearing, given the Thanksgiving holiday and the holidays that follow, realistically.
So we're going to jump ahead here because they go back and forth on what dates work for them and what dates work for me. But there is some interesting discussion still about how Darrell Brooks is going to appear at all these hearings. So we're going to jump ahead here a little bit.
How about the 19th?
I thought Mr. Rakestraw had intake.
By the way, just a side note, intake, in case you don't know what that means, prosecutors have to come and do the intake of all the criminal charges overnight. They have to come do the pretrial hearings where they do like 100 of them a lot of times. So they're just talking about who's handling that in what courtrooms, and you're usually in the same courtroom. Is this lawyer wearing jeans? Or is that just the way the light's hitting his pants? Can you see that? Does that look like he's wearing jeans? I mean, it's a pretty small courtroom. Maybe they're laid back there. I don't know. It's interesting.
Can we do 8:30 on the...
We have transportation issues.
Well, I guess that was a conversation I was going to have as to whether or not, I presume at that point, Mr. Brooks is likely to be at Dodge.
That makes most sense. He does want to physically be here in the courtroom.
Okay, then.
So there you go. There's a little insight into how Darrell Brooks is looking at this. He wants to be physically in the courtroom for all hearings. It's unusual. Most defendants don't care. Most defendants don't want to be there. But you know Mr. Brooks, and none of us should be surprised at this point that he wants to be in this courtroom physically for all hearings, regardless of where he's housed. If he's housed in prison over here, if he's housed in prison in Waukesha, he's going to make it as difficult as possible. But it's his right, and it is his right to be there. It is his right, especially when he thinks that the judicial system is doing him wrong. That's absolutely his right. I think they are suit pants, by the way. I think it was just the weird way the light was hitting him before. All right, let's listen to a couple more minutes of it. And we'll figure out when that status hearing is going to be. You'll hear it announced on the video.
All right. So for today's purposes, we're going to set case 20 CF 2550 on my calendar on Thursday, February 2nd at 1:30. We'll set.
So there you go. February 2nd at 1:30. Kuvira, this is the pretrial for the other charges Darrell Brooks has in Milwaukee, the domestic violence against Erica Patterson and a reckless endangerment, which I think is with a different judge, but he's handling kind of all of them today because we know they're going to get continued because he's been busy the last couple months. And this happened a little while back. This isn't something that happened recently. Mr. Stephen Wolf, is it wrong to wear jeans in court? Only if the judge says so, right? You got to live by the judge's rules. They're the king or queen of the courtroom. So if they say you can wear jeans, then hey, more power to you, wear jeans. Right? I mean, that's their rules. I mean, some lawyers probably still wouldn't because, they want to dress up or they want to wear their suit or they feel it's more respectful or whatever. But the judge sets the rules of the courtroom. So if the judge says there's a problem with wearing jeans and you wear jeans, that's a problem. Andrea, thank you so much for the super sticker. And I can't wait till your gift gets here. I'm going to save it. I won't announce what it is or anything on here, but I'll show it when we get it. That would be really cool. Looking forward to it very much.
21 CF 4596 and 21 CF 5020 on Judge Havis's calendar on that date. With the understanding the lawyers and the judges will be in communication. Mr. Brooks will be produced if Judge Havis is unable to accommodate an in-person hearing in her courtroom. We could have her come down here, or Mr. Brooks could be present physically in this courtroom and Zoom in from here.
Judge Havis is just sent a text that the date works for them.
Okay.
Just interesting. Only if it's in person or by Zoom.
Mr. Brooks will be produced. All right. So next court date, that's February.
So they're saying he'll be here. We'll make it happen. It's absolutely his right. We'll make it happen.
2nd, 1:30 p.m. in room, and 20 CF 2550 will be in room 113 of the safety building. The other two cases will be on Judge Havis's calendar, room 504 of the courthouse. Anything else we need to address this afternoon, Mr. Raystar Hampton?
Nothing.
Mr. Core or Ms. Grasso?
No, Judge, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
So I'm going to turn the sound off here, but I'm going to leave the video on and I'm actually going to slow it down a little bit to the normal speed because we could talk while we're listening to the video. And the purpose of this is he's definitely not sedated. He's definitely involved talking to his lawyers. And this is important when we've got a guy like Darrell Brooks, right, who we know is going to make these complaints throughout this case, probably just like he did the other one. But you can see that he is absolutely involved. He's speaking. He's with it. He's not sedated. He may be on suicide watch. I don't know. It's very strange that they have him strapped to this wheelchair because being in the wheelchair is one thing. If you're on suicide watch, if they're a little nervous about certain things, or if you're about to pass out because you just got a life sentence or whatever it may be, but strapping him to it indicates something more to me usually. But you're seeing here how he is absolutely talking to his lawyers. He's telling them certain things. He's pointing out certain things. When they take his wheelchair back and push him back out to take him back to the jail, you will see him moving his head around. It looks like he's looking at somebody and he nods to somebody that's in the courtroom. What's also very, very wild about this case or about these situations, I should say, is fan people show up. And if you look at like serial killers and some of the, craziest, nastiest defendants you can have, they get love letters in prison. Fanboys and fangirls show up for them. They sit in the courtroom because it's open to the public. So who the heck knows who's sitting in the gallery here that he ends up nodding to, but he does look like he nods to somebody on the way out. Just so you can take a look at that. We'll just let this kind of roll for the next minute while I answer a couple more questions. Ryan Doles, if he's already got consecutive life sentences, why are they going through this? Well, the answer simply is there are multiple charges against him and they could just dismiss them, but there are multiple victims of those charges who also deserve justice in their case. Again, you can see him. He's clearly explaining something to his lawyer. He's doing this to his lawyer. He's saying, I don't want to do this or whatever he's saying, but you can clearly see he's not sedated. He's not passed out. He's not drooling, nothing like that. He's very involved in this conversation. He's telling them things. He's saying things to them. So that's the main reason you go through it, is because there are other victims, number one. But number two, the appellate process is still happening in this other case. And worst case scenario, right? Worst case scenario for justice of the parade victims is he wins that appeal. He goes to trial. He wins that case. So that's why you don't just want to throw these cases away, because this guy's committed so many crimes. You don't want to take the chance that something went wrong and then we get a rogue jury that, acquits him on the next trial. Is that likely to happen? Absolutely not. But could it happen? On a non-zero chance, it could happen. So here they're going to take him away. He's clearly talking to his lawyers, saying thank you, whatever. He gave him a fist pound, if you see that, which I think is interesting, right? We got to watch this guy's every move now, because he's trying a lot of tricky situations with how he's saying, things are unfair, people not explaining to him what's going on, people not helping him, people not doing a good job. He's got to represent himself. Well, here it looks like he had at least some kind of agreement with his lawyer, maybe said thank you to his lawyer, gave him a fist pound on the way out. And then he just gave a little nod to somebody, and there he goes back to the jail. All right. So that is all we have from the Brooks hearing video. Kayla is a new member. And if you are a member, check out the members community page, because we're doing a couple posts on there, a couple special things for the members just for fun. Don't feel like you have to join the membership, but if you want to, a little extra fun that we do on the channel. You won't miss out on any legal analysis or anything if you're not a member, but there are some things we do just for the members. So if you want to check that out with Kayla, check out the members only page on YouTube. Kaylee, if you just missed it, luckily YouTube saves these things. You can be part of the rewatch crew and you can go even quicker through it. Alyssa, it was stated that he was refusing to go in. That was why he was strapped in. Don't know if that's true or not, was reported when this happened. So that would make sense. There usually is something extra happening. Being strapped to the wheelchair is an indication of something more. So I want to make sure everybody understands that he's not just going to be strapped every time. But if he's doing something like that, depending on the judge, he will be strapped to a wheelchair sitting in court with his handcuffs on. And I'm going to go out on a limb. I know nothing about this male judge in this case, but I don't think he's going to act the same way Judge Darrell did. And Rachel is asking why they'd have him strapped like that. If he was causing problems, really is the only way. Causing problems, an extra form of restraint, because he is handcuffed and sitting in a wheelchair. So it's really interesting. But that makes sense too. If he refused to walk into the courtroom, they don't want to carry and drag him in there. They strap him to a wheelchair, push him in there. So that makes sense. All right. Before I get to the last couple questions, don't forget, hit that reminder bell if you haven't subscribed already for the Bankman-Fried federal charge breakdown. I'm bringing my dad in for that. I don't really know much about the case, but he's going to talk about it, how he'd handle it as a federal prosecutor, what they're thinking, how likely they are to win. So don't forget about that. And then tomorrow, the reason we're doubling up and doing 2 lives today is because tomorrow we won't have a live, but you will be able to hang out with me live on YouTube. I'm going to WFLA to hang out with JB for about an hour and talk about the 5 most significant and impactful cases of 2022. Will Darrell Brooks be on that list? And if he is, where will he be? What's your guess as to my top 5 most impactful cases in 2022? I'm going to be in person with JB, WFLA. When he texted me and said, you want to come in person? I was like, wow, like the old days. In person. So that'll be fun. I'm driving over there to the studio. So don't forget to go over there to that channel. I think it's noon tomorrow. I forgot to confirm what time. I think it's noon tomorrow, right around there. And if you're in the chat, make sure you let us know you came from the lawyer you know, if you are able to get into WFLA's chat tomorrow. So make sure you're there. Yeah, I see a lot of you throwing names that I do expect to be on the list, which will be fun. Kuvira, yes, you get to be part of the members' videos. Yes, don't forget to like. Thank you. Melanie said it looks like it may have been his mom. It makes sense. I mean, she seems to be the only one that's been following Darrell Brooks around through the entirety of all of his cases. EJ, Peter, I'm on lifetime disability, stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. Can I still serve on a jury? Have always wanted to. I've never been called for one. EJ, I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm glad you're able to get into these chats though and be a part of them. And it's been fun. And I've seen you in them a lot. So I appreciate that. And that's awesome. You can absolutely be on a jury as long as you're physically able to. The questions they would ask you is, do you have doctor's appointments that you can't miss that are going to be during the time of the jury trial? Number one. Number two, is there anything physically that limits you from being able to sit for 2 or 3 hours and listen to testimony and pay attention and then come to a resolution at the end? In some cases, only last 1 day or 2 days. So that may be perfect for you. And that's what we say in every case when we pick a jury, is not every juror is perfect for every case. So a 6-month trial, probably not one for you, which I don't think you want to sit in on that. But a couple-day trial, maybe 1 day, 2 day, a week, whatever it may be, whatever you're physically able to and comfortable with, absolutely you'd be able to. Absolutely. It's usually the person requesting to not be on the jury because of the physical ailment, or obviously if you have, issues reading or writing or understanding language and that kind of disability, then sometimes trials are quick and can be difficult to sit on. Rhino Fart and Snore is a new member as well. Make sure you check out the community page. All right, we are coming up on the 30-minute mark here. I appreciate everybody for joining in. This was really fun, and keep letting me know. I know some people are over Darrell Brooks. Some people are over Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, but if enough people reach out to me on Instagram and Twitter, @TragosLaw is my handle there, or on the YouTube community pages, or in the chats and in the comments of the YouTube pages, then we're going to try to hit the content that most people enjoy, most people want to talk about, most people learn from, most people find interesting or significant. So that's what we're going to do. I appreciate everyone. Please check back here in 3.5 hours and bring some questions for my dad, because we're going to be diving in. I'll see you guys then.